Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome for a soulful morning. Let's start our wonderful day with a brand new beginning, knowing that there's so many blessings that we can count. So let's start being grateful to the Father Universe for giving us a beautiful universe to thrive in, to dive in, to understand, to construe, and to kind of trust the process of life. To have and instill this faith in us that we can trust the universe, for it has our back. Let's be grateful to Mother Earth for giving us all that we need to live, to breathe. Free oxygen is available to us because of Mother Earth and her abundance and her nature of being unconditional. No condition attached while she gives us oxygen. For all the food that we live for and eat, for the earth that we walk on, so much that Mother Earth blesses us all with. Let's be grateful to our loved ones for being in our lives, because they have truly shown us empathy, compassion, love, hate, greed, or whatever emotions we have within us. Let's be grateful to all the good, for it makes us realize where the bad is, and to all the bad, where it makes us realize where all the good is. Let's be grateful to life for unfolding the way it does to teach us lessons on an everyday basis. Life is the biggest teacher. Let's be grateful to all our teachers who have incarnated in person over millennials, over eons. So let's bow our heads in gratitude to our teachers in this realm or the other, in this dimension or the other, in this space or another, for always teaching us what is important for us, for always trying to make our soul more expansive. Let's be grateful to our angels and guardians and spirit guides who continue to mentor us, known and in unknown fashions. Let's be grateful to all those who come in our life for a reason, for a purpose. And for all those who just come in our lives unknown to the reason and the purpose. So grateful for everything and anything that is happening in and around us. Now, most important, gratitude to our higher self, who's the reason why we are here, who's chosen our parents for us to lead a life that we're leading. So the seed was sown for us to be born in this life is because of our higher self. And let's ask our higher self, and let's tune inwards and connect and just request that may the certainty and the purpose of our life unfold in front of us, within us. Let's have an honest conversation with our higher self, knowing that it's always going to reply. The gut feeling that we have or the sixth sense that we have is basically our higher self guiding us. Let's be so grateful to the air that is around us at this moment, whether it's blowing or not, whether it's coming to us through the form of air released from the air conditioner or the fan or the cooler. It's there, it's helping us breathe. Without that, you would have been gasping for breath. So this beautiful breath work that is happening organically without efforts. Let's be so grateful for the breath. Touch your heart and be grateful for your heart, for it beats. Even when we sleep, we retire for the day, this heart is beating. If you wish, you can keep your hand in your pulse and feel the pulse pulsing. Do we have to remind our pulse to pulse? It's always doing its own work effortlessly. Let's touch our digestive area, our stomach, and be grateful that all that we put in our food, whether it's conscious or unconscious, whether it's good energy or it's stagnant energy, whether it's packaged processed food or fresh sattvic food, our gut is always working. Our digestion system is always working. It's trying to discard what is not required by our body when we take care of our body, knowingly or unknowingly. So much is unfolding around us, so much. Are we aware? Let's be really grateful for all that is happening. And once again this morning, let's take 100 seconds to be grateful for the 10 things that we can just think of immediately or maybe thoughtfully. So much of gratitude to count 100 seconds just flow by. And maybe pray with folded hands that, dear God, dear life, whenever anything untoward goes, remind us to write gratitude because writing gratitude amplifies the quality of life. Whenever we think that why are things not going the way they should, then maybe be reminded that how gratitude changes. And with this beautiful feeling, let's just fold our hands, rub them together, generate the energy, and energize our gorgeous eyes and our wonderful body, top to bottom, in to out. Bless our wonderful body. And once again, fold our hands and remember the power of prayer, the vitamin P, which we all need, the trust and the faith in prayers. Whatever we are praying for ourselves, may this be amplified for whoever, wherever possible. And send this prayer out with the blessings. Open your hands to bless the world. That whatever I'm wishing for myself, may this go out, reach out, and bless whoever is in need. So be it. So it is. And today, once again, we will be reading our wonderful book, Only Love is Real by Dr. Brian Weiss. Today we are on chapter number 20. Plato wrote, O youth or young man, who fancy that you are neglected by the gods. Know that if you become worse, you shall go to the worse souls, or if better, to the better, and in every succession of life and death, you will do and suffer what like may fitly suffer at the hands of like. This is justice of heaven. So, on a human level, we call them the karmic actions or the karma. Our daily karma also adds to our profit and loss of account of life. When we do money, we see gains and losses and whatnot. But do we do that for our actions? Do we take into account that we may have robbed somebody of his self-esteem? This could be a staff. When you shout on your staff, when you reprimand them for not the work not to be done, do we know that we don't have the right to rip anybody off in this life? That what if we were in their shoes? And mind you, we have been in their shoes. We have had human lives. We also have come from all of that. Today, if we are supported in life, it's because we have done the hard work and now reached to this level. So in this life, we may have been born in well-to-do homes, but it's because our spirits have lived like that before. We have all been brought in a human consciousness by having lived the rock consciousness. So whenever we feel heavy in the heart, it's the memory, the cellular memory, which remembers that we have been a stone, we have been hard. So whenever we rip anybody off of their self-esteem, we are adding a negative karmic account balance to ourselves. And after every life, when we go back up, this will be accounted for also. And then we will feel we had no reason to be so angry at such a mundane little thing. So again, are we reminded to live life accountably, consciously? Or are we just living the way we have to, conditioned? Oh, I'm rich. Oh, I can afford. Oh, I can rip anybody off. Or I can throw my weight around. Do I cut a line because I'm privileged and I'm allowed to have the VIP treatment? That is also robbing so many people of their privilege. We may think, oh, we are allowed, we are lucky and we are privileged. But are we? There are people waiting in hours in lines. We've taken their right away by entering in their spot, somebody's spot. It may not be significant at this moment to you, but think about living life consciously. It's what we owe. Sometimes life's most significant events are upon you before you're aware of them, like the silent approach of a jungle cat. How could you not have noticed something of such magnitude? The camouflage is psychological. Denial, the act of not seeing what is right before your eyes because you really don't want to see it, is the greatest disguise. And in fatigue, distractions, rationalizations, mental escape, and all the other businesses of the mind that get in the way, fortunately, destiny's persistence can pierce the disguises and distinguish from which you need to see the foreground emerging from the background, like mastering one of those magic eye pictures. If you remember when we were children, there were magic eye pictures. There were covers on books. You tilt them in one direction, one image shows. You tilt them in another direction, another image shows. There are always two sides of a story unfolding at every given point of time. Your perspective and the perspective. What is your story? What have you thought is true? Is it true? When you're tired, you say, I'm tired because. When you're distracted, you say, I'm distracted because. When you're showing your rationalizations, your analyzations, you're like, this is a reason for it. When you're escaping from some reality, it's because you're finding a reason of being a victim or not being a victim. And the ongoing chatter, chatter, chatter in the mind, the monkey brain is forever on. But guess what? Destiny has a plan. And whatever you're trying to cover up or put apart, destiny, whatever plan it has, will unfold. Yes, we do have the power of changing our destiny slightly. So we are given time, authenticity, help, nudge, but are we conscious about it? Dr. Wise says, over the past 15 years, I have often treated couples or families who have discovered each other together in past lives. Sometimes I've regressed couples who simultaneously and for the first time we found themselves interacting in the same prior life. These revelations are often shocking to the couple. They have not experienced anything like this before. They are silent while the scenes are unfolding in my psychiatric office. It is only afterward, after emerging from the relaxed hypnotic state, that they first discover they have been watching the same scenes, feeling the same emotions. It is only then that I also become aware of their past connections. And the same happened in our class, I think in the Sangha 3, middle of last year. A couple from Hyderabad, they were doing past life regression on the online session, and they reached the same life. And then they had answers as to why the wife is so scared for her husband whenever he leaves, because he had left her in the past life. So whenever he has to go in this life anywhere, she gets heebie-jeebies, which is the reason sometimes stories unfold. Like yesterday, I tried going into past life, and the session just wouldn't, it was buffering, and there was no option to download. Then on my mobile, I downloaded and I played the session, but I just slept. I didn't enter the door or anything. I know the entire process, but my mind just shut. It was too tired. I've been sleeping very less for past few days because I've been worked up of so many things. And I'm allowing that work up to happen. But nonetheless, the healing happens. But herein, what is Dr. Weiss telling us? He says, but with Elizabeth and Pedro, every day was backward, their lives and their lifetimes. They were unfolding independently and quite separately in my office. They did not know each other. They had never met. They were from different countries and cultures. They different days. Seeing them both separately and never even suspecting a link between them, I did not make the connection. They had loved each other and lost each other across lifetimes. Why didn't I see it before? Was it even my destiny? Am I supposed to be this cosmic matchmaker? Was I distracted, fatigued, in denial? Was I rationalizing away coincidences, or was I right on schedule? The idea dawning at its sunrise, the way it was planned all along. It came to me one evening. Eli, I heard it from Elizabeth weeks before in my office, earlier that day. Pedro could not remember his name in a hypnotic trance. He had emerged in an ancient lifetime, one he had previously remembered in the office. In that lifetime, he had died after being dragged by leather clad soldiers. His life ebbed away as the head rested in his beloved daughter's laps, and she rocked rhythmically with despair. Perhaps there were more to learn from that life. Once again, he remembered dying in her arms, his life fading away. I asked him to look at her closely, to look deeply into her eyes, and to see if he recognized her as someone in his current life. Could you just give me a moment? I'll just get myself a cup of hot water, please. If you wish, you can just close your eyes for a couple of minutes. Thank you for your patience. Perhaps there was more to learn from that time. Once again, I remembered, once again, he remembered dying in her lives, and he was asked to recognize her in her current life, but he couldn't. He says, "No, I don't know her. Do you know your name?" I asked, turning the attention completely to the ancient lifetime in Palestine. He pondered the question. "No," he finally said. "I will tap you on the forehead as I count backwards from 3 to 1. Let your name just pop into your head, into your mind, into your awareness. Whatever name comes to you is fine." No name popped into his mind. I don't know my name, nothing comes to me. But something came to me, popping into my mind like a silent explosion, suddenly clear and vivid. "Eli," I said aloud. "Is your name Eli?" "How do you know that?" "That is my name. Some call me Elihu. Some call me Eli. How do you know? Where were you there too?" "I don't know. It just came to me." I was very surprised at the whole situation. How did I know? I have had psychic or intuitive flashes before, but not often. This felt as if I were remembering something rather than receiving a psychic message, remembering from where I could not place it. My mind stretched to remember, but I could not. I knew from experience that I should stop trying to remember, let it go, get on with the day. The answer would probably arrive spontaneously in a while. An important piece of some strange puzzle was missing. Let it go. I could feel its absence, hinting at a crucial connection still to be found. But a connection to what? I tried not very successfully to concentrate on other things. Later that evening, a puzzle piece arrived suddenly, very softly in my mind. All at once, I was aware of it. It was Elizabeth. About 2 months ago, she had recounted a tragic but touching lifetime as a potter's daughter in ancient Palestine. Her father had been killed accidentally by Roman soldiers after being dragged him around on the back of a horse. The soldiers had not really cared what happened to him. His mangled body, his bleeding heel, had been cradled by his daughter as he died in the dusty street. She had remembered his name in that lifetime. His name was Eli. My mind was quickly working now. The details of two Palestinian lifetimes fit together. Pedro's and Elizabeth's memories of that time meshed perfectly. Physical descriptions, events, names for the same father and daughter. I have worked with many people, usually couples, who have found themselves together in previous lives. Many have recognized the soul companions traveling together through time to be united once again in the current lifetime. Never before had I encountered soulmates who had not yet met in the present time. In this case, soulmates who had traveled nearly 2,000 years to be together again. They had come all this way. They were within inches and minutes of each other, but they had yet not connected. At home, with their charts filed away in my office, I tried to remember if they had shared other eye lifetimes. No, not as monks. One story, but not two. At least not yet. Not on this India trading routes, not in the mangrove swamps of Florida, not in the malarial Spanish Americans, not so far an island. They were the only lifetimes I could remember. Another thought dawned. Perhaps they had been together in some or all of those times, but had not recognized each other because they had not met in the present, because there was no face, no name, no landmark in the present life. No one to connect to the people in previous incarnations. Then I remembered Elizabeth's Western China, the time worn sweeping plains where her people were massacred and where she and a few other young women were captured. On the same plains which Pedro pinpointed as Mongolia, he returned to find his family, his kin, his people destroyed. Pedro and I assumed that his young wife had been killed amid the chaos, destruction, and despair described in his recall. She had not. She had been captured and taken away for the rest of her lifetime, never to be held again in the strong arms of Mongol husband. Now, whose arms had returned to the hazardous mists of the time to hold her again, to hug her sweetly to his breast, but they did not know, only I knew. father and daughter, childhood lovers, husband and wife. How many more lives throughout history had they shared their lives and their love? They were together again, but they didn't know it. Both were lonely, both suffering in their way, both were starving, and yet a feast had been set before them, a feast they could not yet smell or taste. How beautiful. I was severely constrained by the laws of psychiatry, if not for the more subtle rules of karma. The strictest of the laws is that of privacy or confidentiality. If psychiatry were religion, breaching a patient's confidentiality would be one of its cardinal sins. At the least, the breach could constitute malpractice. I could not tell Pedro and Elizabeth nor Elizabeth about Pedro. Whatever the karma or spiritual consequences of intervening in another's free will, the consequences of violating psychiatry's main law were quite clear. The spiritual consequences would not have deferred me. I could introduce them and let destiny take its course. The psychiatric consequences stopped me cold. What if I were wrong? What if a relationship between them began, sowed, soured, and ended badly? There could be anger and bitterness. How would this affect back on the feelings about me as a trusted therapist? Would their clinical improvement unravel? Would all their good therapeutic work be undone? There were definite risks. I also had to examine my own subconscious motives. Was my need to see my patients becoming happier and healthier to find peace and love in their own lives affecting my judgment now? Were my own needs urging me to cross the boundary of psychiatric ethics? The only easy choice would be to leave well enough alone to say nothing. No harm done, no consequences. When in doubt, do not harm. Do no harm. Whether or not to write Many Lives, Many Masters was similar and very difficult decisions. Writing my first book endangered my entire professional career. After 4 years of hesitation, I had decided to write it. Once again, I chose to take the risk. I would intervene. I would try to nudge destiny along. As a concession to my training and to my fears, I would do it as carefully and subtly as possible. The scenes and details of specific historical epochs remembered by Elizabeth, Pedro, and many of my other patients are very similar to each other. Those images are not necessarily like the ones we learned in Sunday school, from history book, or from television. They are similar, but they come from actual memories. Carolina Gomez, the former Miss Columbia and first runners up in 94 Miss Universe pageant, remembered in one regression being a naked man pulled to his death by Roman horses. This death is similar to one remembered by Pedro. A few other patients have also remembered horse-drawn deaths, not only in Roman times, but unfortunately in many other cultures as well. A patient of mine from Colorado remembered being stolen from a Native American tribe and never seeing her family again. She eventually escaped, but she died in the equivalent of a mental ward in the Old West. How similar this is to Elizabeth's experience in Asia. The theme of separation and loss is a common one in past life regressions. We are all seeking to heal our psychic wounds. They need to heal. This needs to heal. This need to heal emphasizes the remembering of old traumas which have caused our pain and our symptoms rather than the remembering of serene and peaceful times which have not left scars. I occasionally work with two or more people at the same time. When I do this, I do not have either of them speak because they might disturb each other. Recently in my office, I regressed a couple simultaneously. The silent regression took up the entire session, and we had no time to review the experiences. The couple left the office and began to compare notes. Incredibly, they had both experienced a lifetime together. In his lifetime, he was a British officer in the 13 colonies, and in her, she was a woman who lived there. They met and fell deeply in love. He was recalled to England and never again returned to visit his love. She was devastated by the loss, and yet there was nothing either could do. Colonial society and the British military followed strict rules and customs. They both saw and described the colonial woman in the same antique clothes. They both described the ship on which he had left the colonies and returned to England and the tearful and parting that occurred at that time. All the details of their recall matched. Their memories also illustrated problems in their current life relationship. One major problem was her nearly obsessive fear of separation from him and his constant need in return to reassure her that he was not going to leave her. Her fear and his need had no basis in the reality of the current relationship. Their pattern had its root in colonial times. Just now I spoke about it, right? The Hyderabad couple. And here the same thing is being talked about in Dr. Brian Weiss's book. So there's some things that we do in our life and we have no answer. And that is when PLR kind of happens. So when I have something like this, I tend to have a question before I go into PLR. And sometimes I've gone to PLR just intrigued. My husband and I of this life, we have been together for at least 11 lives. We have seen them together. One life he has seen which I haven't, 10 I have seen which he hasn't. Because I go into PLR more often. Makes me understand why he is the way he is. We have a soul contract. Why his telepathy is so strong when it comes to me, even if I'm in a different country, different place, different timing completely. He's connected. He knows it all. Because that's what he's chosen. And while we have seen 11 lives in PLR, when I did Akashic reading with one of my teachers, another life unfolded and another, two of them opened up. And again, him and me were soulmates even then. We were not married, but we were soulmates. PLR helps to give answers to some of the traumas that we are holding in our cellular memory. I'm again not pushing anybody to go for it, but if you feel that you have to have answers, you may just tap into your PLR. And for the others, just read this as a soul journey. Every day, new lessons are opening up for us. Just go with those lessons, just understand those lessons. Other therapists performing past life regressions are finding the same results. Traumas arise more frequently than peaceful memories. Death scenes are important because they are often traumatic. Don't you even now say, किसी ने कुछ एक wrong चीज बोली है वो दिमाग में बस जाती है 99 अच्छी चीजें बोल रही हैं we tend to forget because when we were early man we were taught to either fight or flight. So the coping mechanisms were these. So whenever we go into PLR, something traumatic opens up, but are we ready to accept that the trauma is coming to teach us a lesson? But if we get scared, then we're not looking at healing. Again, no reason to push, just a statement. Traumas arise more frequently than peaceful memories. Death scenes are important because they are often dramatic. Lifetimes seem similar, and important scenes scenes seem similar because the same themes and the same inventions of man have arisen at all times in all cultures. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is a quote. Chapter number 21, the opening lines are from our own Mahatma Gandhi. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi stated, believing as I do in the theory of rebirth, I live in the hope that if not in this birth, In some birth, I shall be able to hug all humanity in friendly embrace. I was wrestling with time, and it had me a beer hog. Pedro was about to finish his therapy and move permanently to Mexico. If Pedro and Elizabeth did not meet soon, they would be in different countries, and the likelihood of their meeting in this lifetime would be dramatically diminished. Both of their grief reactions were resolving. Physical symptoms such as quality of sleep, energy levels, and appetite were better in both patients. The loneliness and the despair of finding a good and loving relationship remained intact. Anticipating Pedro's termination of therapy, I had reduced the frequency of his appointments to every other week. I did not have much time left. I arranged for the next visits to be sequential for Pedro to follow Elizabeth in the hourly schedule that day. Everybody entering or leaving my office has to ask for the waiting room. During Elizabeth's session, I worried that Pedro might not come for his appointment. Things happen, cars break down, emergencies arise, illnesses developed, appointments are changed. He appeared. I walked into the walking room with Elizabeth. They looked at each other and their eyes lingered for longer than a moment. I could sense a sudden interest there, hint at worlds of possibilities lying under the surface. Or was this just wishful thinking on my part? Elizabeth's mind quickly reasserted its customary mastery, telling her she needed to leave, cautioning her about appropriate behavior. She turned to the outside door and left the offices. I nodded to Pedro and we walked into my office. A very attractive woman, he commented. As he sat down heavily in the large leather chair. Yes, she's a very interesting person too. That's nice, he said wistfully. His attention had already begun to wander. He turned to the task of terminating our sessions and moving on to the next phase of his life. He had pushed the brief meeting with Elizabeth out of his mind. Neither Pedro nor Elizabeth followed up on this encounter in the waiting room. Neither asked for more information about the other. My manipulation had been too subtle, too fleeting. I decided to try the back to back appointments again 2 weeks later, unless I chose to become more direct and breach confidentiality by speaking directly to one of them. This would be my last chance. It was Pedro's final appointment prior to his move. They gazed at each other again as I escorted her to the waiting room. Their eyes met and lingered even longer this time. Pedro nodded and smiled. Elizabeth smiled in return. She hesitated for a moment, then turned to the door and left. Trust yourself, I thought, trying to mentally remind Elizabeth of an important lesson. She did not respond. Again, Pedro did not follow up. He did not ask me about Elizabeth. He was absorbed by the details of his relocation to Mexico and he ended his therapy on that day. Perhaps this is not meant to be, I thought. They were both improved, although not happy. Perhaps this was enough. You will not always marry your most strongly bonded soulmate. There may be more than one for you because soul families travel together. You might choose to marry a less bonded soul companion, one who has something specific to teach you or to learn from you. Remember these points, my dear co learners. I have taken a session already about 5 soulmates, right? Some of you may know about this. It's again on Sunday Life Reflections. You may not be married to the soulmate, but one of your soul families, and that's fine because we have to learn a lesson in this life. Your recognition of a soulmate may occur later in life after both of you are already committed to your present life families. Or your strongest soulmate connection may be to your parent or to your child or to your sibling. Or your strongest connection may be to a soulmate who has not incarnated during your lifetime and who's watching over you from the other side like a guardian angel. That's also possible, my dears. And that is the reason why I say, please talk to your angel guardians. Please talk to them. They are overlooking you, they're always overseeing you. So when in doubt, reach out to them. Ask and you're given. Go with these beautiful words, and believe me, life is a blessing. So much will come unfolding for you. It's like in your tough times, that there'll be somebody holding you, maybe picking you up and taking you through that beautiful, situation in life. The story that we've talked about many times about two sets walking, and the other person knowing that God is always walking with him. And toughest time, he would just see one set of footprints, and that would be told to him later that in your tough times, I was holding you in my hands, and they were the footsteps that you saw were not yours but mine. We are always supported, whether we know it or whether we are unaware of it, whether we deny or whether we accept. The truth is, we are always supported. There's somebody I was working on with. She said there's this gorgeous bird in this new house she shifted. It comes every day at the same time. And just looking at her, is there for about 2 hours and then she flies away. She says, I know that bird is an angel guardian. He's always overlooking me and it's so pretty. Never seen a bird like that before. You never know in which form your angel guardians are looking upon you. You never know. Just trust the process. And if in doubt, ask. Sometimes your soulmate is willing and available. He or she might recognize the passion and the chemistry between you, the intimate and subtle bonds that imply connections over many lifetimes, yet he or she may be toxic for you. It's a matter of soul development. I know of another very dear friend. She was in a toxic relationship with a narcissistic. She did not even want to be in the relationship, but she had to be compulsively. Sometimes you can't get out of situations. You know something is bad for you, but you have a trauma bond. Now, this could be with anything. It could be with food, with alcohol, with death, with so many things. You have a trauma bond. You have to understand why the trauma bond is there. Some people have a trauma bond with depression. That's also a phase in life. If one soul is less developed and more ignorant than the other, traits of violence, greed, jealousy, hatred, and fear might be brought into the relationship. These tendencies are toxic to the more evolved soul, even if from a soulmate. Frequent rescue fantasies arise with the thought, I can change him, I can help her grow. If he does allow you help, it is in her free will. She chooses not to learn, not to grow, the relationship is doomed. Perhaps there will be another chance in another lifetime, unless he awakens later in this one. Late awakenings do happen. So, good news is that you want to change somebody. Can you change? The answer is yes, you can, but it takes its own sweet time. My Sai says Shraddha and Saburi, faith and patience. Two beautiful virtues every mankind must have. Faith, trust the process. Patience, the key to all things wonderful. We may have written a blueprint for our lives, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, but maybe it's not yet time for it to unfold. Wait for the magic to happen. So in Vedanta, in Gita ji, we say, Karm kar fal ki ichha mat kar. Very difficult to not have ichha for the fal. But karm kar, keep doing your acts with love, with nobility, with compassion, with empathy, with passion. And then wait for the magics to unfold. They will unfold. That's why we say trust the process. So once again, I repeat to my co-learners, please keep using whichever phrases resonate with you on a daily level, knowing that that will definitely unfold. In spiritual world, we always say faking it is making it. We've all heard this old story about this little lakadhara, no? Which keeps shouting, Bhedi aaya, and when one day it comes, the villagers don't even pay heed to his thing because they thought he's lying. His bhediya hai became true, his manifestation became true. But he wanted to help the world by cautioning them. That did not, because his intention was wrong. So karm kar in the right direction, not the wrong direction. And your heart will tell you what's the direction you should take a leap of faith. Your heart, dear friends, not mind. Sometimes soulmates decide not to get married while incarnated. They arrange to meet to stay together upon agreed upon task is completed and then move on. Their agendas, their lesson plans for the entirety of this life are different, and they do not want or need to spend all this lifetime together. It's not a tragedy, only a matter of learning. You have eternal life together, but sometimes you may need to take separate classes. That's why you know that you fell in love, maybe in school, college, or post marriage, or something, but you don't marry the person. She or he or somebody you met, you were very attracted to, you thought there was a connection, but it never manifested into marriage. Again, because you have different lessons to learn. You haven't chosen that path together. You are soul families, you have incarnated, your paths did cross. You did learn a lesson, but now it's time for you to move on. Sometimes a soulmate can be a child who passes away in a tragedy, uncalled for thing. That was because that was the only time that you could be with him or her till that lifetime. My mother and my brother were soulmates and they were my extended soul family. I've seen them in lives with me. But in this life, that's all the relationship they had to have was 34 years. When she manifested him and he came as a child who wasn't willing to come. It wasn't his time yet, but he manifested. But then he exited. समय से पहले समय के बाद. You've heard of this, right? So be prepared. That's why they say manifest whatever, but also add the surrounding charm to it. That this or something highest better will unfold because I trust the process of life. Allow the divinity to be attached to your manifestation. If it's meant to be, it will come in totality. If it's not meant to be, at least it will not come as a half baked pie. What is a half baked pie useful for? You can't even eat it, you can't even throw it. Then it's better to be just a bakeable pie. At least there's hope. Souls need awakening. Souls need their own time, their own thing to learn to awaken. For all you know, they've chosen a particular different religion, different life, because that's what they've chosen. We hear the excuses of the mind all the time. I'm too young. I need more experience. I'm not ready to settle down yet. You are of a different religion or race, region, social, time, status, intellectual level, cultural background, and so on. These are all excuses for soul possesses none of these attributes. So that we are aware, right? Soul kali, pili, neeli nahi hoti. Soul masculine, feminine nahi hoti. Soul dark, light nahi hoti. Soul is soul. हम excuses बांधते हैं इसने ऐसा separation. Soul knows that everything is oneness. We are one. The person may recognize the chemistry, the attraction is definitely there, but the source of the chemistry is not understood. It is delusional to believe that this passion, this soul recognition and attraction will be easily found again with another person. You do not run into such a soulmate every day, perhaps only another person. Perhaps only one or two more in a lifetime. Divine grace may reward a good heart, a loving soul. Never worry about meeting soulmates. Such meetings are a matter of destiny. They will occur after the meeting. The free will of both partners reigns. What decisions are made or not made are a matter of free will of choice. The less awakened will make decisions based on the mind and of its fears and prejudices and conditioning which is there in society. Unfortunately, this often leads to heartache. The more awakened couple, the more awakened the couple is, the more the likelihood of a decision based on love. When both partners are awakened, ecstasy is within their grasp. Will you want to meditate for 10 minutes or read a chapter and then meditate on your own? What do you prefer? Of course, I will initiate you into the meditation. You will go on your own. So, do I make you meditate for longer or do we read the chapter? Can you tell me in the chat box, please? Meditation, says Jyoti. Anybody else? And may I request you to unmute yourself and tell me, are you able to go deeper and connect, or whatever is unfolding, are you able to resonate, or do you believe in the process? I would just like to
Uh,
know, is the
yes,
guide?
Prachi, I believe in the process,
Yeah.
though I'm not able to go much deeper,
Hmm.
but yes, I completely believe in it.
So again, just a request to everybody who's going through what Jyoti is, because you believe in it, that's beautiful. Trust the process and say whatever's unfolding for me, whether I believe or not, is the right lesson for me to be learned today. And the minute you accept that, your meditation will become deeper. Because then it becomes non-judgmental, non-conditional, right? So, okay. Thank you, Pratima ji, and thank you, Jyoti, for
Praj, I
yeah.
will like to say I've been trying to do this, going into the past, and I have seen few lives,
Beautiful.
and I can only see the eyes, and that eyes matches Anurag,
Hmm.
and the and in few friends I can see someone was my enemy, someone was my friend, someone was my sister. So I'm little confused. Like, uh, it can be true.
Of
Matlab,
course, it can be.
like,
Anurag is the closest connection you have in this life because he's your partner, life partner. And the other sister, friends, or enemies, it's very much possible. But don't
yeah,
let that get the better of you.
but the enemy right now is my good friend.
That's okay. Enemies are not always their soulmates who've come to teach you, to challenge you, to make you, to break you. They're very important. If you wish, you can go to a soulmate session, which is online. In that, it's very clear. There are some enemies you can see before and after. They come and they thwart your life. They are your soulmates. It's fine.
And I have a friend called Ruchi in Delhi, and I could see her. She was my sister, and we like talk once in a month or something like that. But she's my bestie.
It's possible. Okay, great. Trust the process of life, everybody. Let's go into a meditation. You know, all mute yourselves again. Let's take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Inhale with gratitude. Exhale with more gratitude. Inhale with gratitude. Exhale with more gratitude. Inhale light. Exhale light. Inhale darkness. Exhale darkness. We are conditioning our bodies and our mind to accept everything without being biased, without telling ourselves that light is better than dark or dark is important for the light. They're both complementary. We are rewiring our brain to softly breathe and bring us into a calm state where meditation or feeling calmer is easier. So, your deep round of breathing, conscious breathing, is helping you go deeper into your own self. So, while I keep talking, remember that our lives have to be centered, balanced, aligned with the help of our deep breaths. So, continue to breathe in deep and continue to breathe out deep. Each deeper breath is taking you deeper into your being. As we go deeper within, there will come a point in time where you will feel there's a warmth growing in your heart. Your heart is going through sensations. Some of you may need to keep your hand on your heart. Some of you can just feel the warmth. Allow this warmth to expand. Expand in the entirety of your being, your body. Keep expanding. Let this warm feeling envelope you. All your bodies, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, etheric, so many bodies. May they all be covered with this light, with this mushy feeling of love. Love is all there is. Love is everywhere. I am loved. I am lovable. I am loving. I am love. I am unconditional love. And this beautiful love that I have for everything, I connect with my higher self and have an open conversation. Dear higher self. So some of you may want to join your, fold your hands. Some of you just want to maybe touch your heart. Some of you may just want to connect. Dear higher self, I trust you. I know that you have taken birth in this life, given me this life through my parents, through my loved ones, for me to learn a lesson. And every day, I'm meant to learn lessons in the school of life. Today, what is my lesson? Bring upon me some memories or something where I'm going to learn a lesson from. May I be connected deeply, beautifully. And now get comfortable in your body. And sink into this deep world of effortlessness. No efforts required. Just flow. You may be in a trance or whatever. Be in the flow. Be blessed.